All right, so I love this thing, but there's some stuff that nobody's talking about and you probably need to know. This isn't a hate video. I really like this machine, but when you spend this kind of money on a machine, there's some things you should know and some things that really will bother you. First off is gonna be this gas cap. So you have your gas cap and your normal tether on the gas cap. This is all I did one day, and I came up like this, it fell on the ground. So you have the tether in there. It's really hard to see. We won't waste much time looking at that. But you can probably see this little tiny chip missing. That's all that held the tether on this gas cap. Twisting it broke off. It doesn't follow all the way in your tank because luckily there's another little bracket there, but you can't cut it either to pull it out of there because the bracket's too low, then you lose the rest of the tether. So that's just an inconvenience. Doesn't really matter, but when you pay $30,000 plus $40,000 for a machine, you kind of hope that little things like that don't happen. So we're over here at Jake's house right now in his barn. I forgot the part I was gonna bring it, but we'll just do this quick breakdown real quick. So take your seat out. If you can see this right here, flips, okay? So when you push your seat down, it flips back and then it's locked in. Mine broke off. So I don't know exactly when it happened. I'm only at 300 miles on this machine. So it's a kind of a big problem that these little things are breaking. I called a local dealership, they're sold out. Talked to a dealership in Wisconsin, they got it to me. Then the Wisconsin dealership, when they sent me the part, mentioned that they got another order for it. So it's just a weird thing that's breaking. It could be user error potentially. I don't quite understand because there's one on each side. So as your seat slides in, it's gonna lock into them. So I don't understand how that happened. Like I said in some other videos, I like to have fun. We have fun. I'll jump this machine. I'm a bigger guy. That shouldn't snap off. And it's a danger because I ended up hitting a jump and my seat rocked and rolled, and you don't need that one ready. There's the power adjustment. So I believe Can-Am has like eco and fun mode and power mode and whatever modes. Polaris on this machine, at least on the Pro S, you just have the power, which is cool. And I don't totally no reason to adjust it other than maybe I dinked around too long on the trail and I'm running out of fuel and I need to not just wrap on this thing. It doesn't have that, it doesn't come with it, but you can buy tunes, which are coming on this soon. You can do it then, but now you're looking at $400 to $700 with tunes and all the other fun stuff that comes with it. When Can-Am, for one, you can adjust your power, you can do all these things, and Polaris doesn't allow you to do it. So another gripe that I have is the power steering input. Can-Am has that. You can adjust your power steering and the feedback you get, and that's probably a really nice thing. This machine, you don't get it. It's whatever feedback it wants to give you is what you get. I mentioned in some other videos that it felt weird in the trails. Is it me getting used to the machine? Is it me not? I still don't like how that power steering feels in this machine, personally.
While we have a X3 sitting right here, kind of the, I guess, rival for the Pro S, I can show how this stuff is real quick, just so you guys kind of can see it. So in the Can-Am, you got your DPS button here. It's not focusing. So that's how you actually change up your power steering input. So you got low, medium, and high. I liked when we had our RZRs back in the day. Felt like the RZRs kind of like the ascend on them would slide a little bit easier than this. This thing squats a lot more. You're kind of a lower center of gravity, so it hooks up a little bit more, it feels like. Instead of like drifting, it kind of just goes. Also on that, I like when you come out of a corner, you kind of let go of the wheel and it kind of self-centers itself. So you get more, I guess, input from the road, more feedback. I don't like it real twitchy and real strong. So I personally run it on the lowest setting because I feel more comfortable with that. Power modes, you got your different drive modes. So Nate already mentioned on it. Right now I just have it in eco mode because we were in the snow, so I was getting zero traction anyhow, is why my belt left the chat. We like, say when we ride up to St. Helen and we're trying to make it back and I don't know if I got enough fuel, it's nice where I can just switch it over to eco mode and it cuts the actual horsepower down.
And that's a huge thing I get jealous of when we go to Houghton Lake. That's about a probably 45-minute-ish fun trip. I'm already calculating where my fuel is at when we get to Houghton Lake. And when we get up there, Jake's like, oh, I'm gonna just rip, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna do this. I don't know, another 45 minutes to an hour into the ride. We're all trying to figure out where Nate's gonna get fuel. But this thing truly sucks fuel. That could be another one of the cons we talk about. It weighs about the same as the Pro R. And then like another thing is the wheels. So it comes with a 5-lug wheel, which is nice. Can-Am has a 4. We don't get bead lock though, and they're not super expensive. And again, that's something I personally think Polaris could throw in. They didn't throw anything crazy other than electronics. Personally, we have way better electronics than Can-Am does. Does it cost that much more they can't throw in?
I mean, at the end of the day, they're both on 32s. They both have 15-inch wheels. Granted, Polaris has a 5-lug hub. The Can-Am has a 4-lug hub. But both of the X3s, the RS and the XRC, which would be comparable to the Pro S, both come with bead locks. So it'd be nice to see the RZR having bead locks on it.
Some other little nitpick things. When you're paying this amount of money for a machine, no retractable harnesses. I didn't know that I wanted these or didn't want those until I got a machine with them. And then earlier today, I got in this one and I dropped something and then I got it and then I dropped something again and dropped it, and then it just really kind of made me not want to ride over to Jake's house. So retractable harnesses are nice. They're not that expensive, but at the same point, you're paying so much money for a machine. Why can't they add those? Another thing that they don't do is the belt temp gauge. Not a make or break it for me, but it's like the little things. You can get a belt temp gauge for this machine. It's 150 bucks, we'll say, give or take. That's 150 bucks that should be wrapped into the $35,000 to $40,000 this machine costs, and you can get a Can-Am and it has it. Like I said, it's not a hate. I'm a Polaris diehard person. It's just, why do I have to pay for that? And then another thing that Polaris decided to not offer, then offer for a short term, and then not offer again. If I am buying a Polaris Ultimate, which has everything Polaris offers, they gave us a roof. That's amazing. I love I got a roof. Why did they take the winch away to give me a roof? That makes no sense at all. The roof, the winch. I would much rather go buy a roof myself than buy the winch. That right there actually gets me a little boiled on this whole topic. Love this machine. That shouldn't have happened. They should cut corners on something, but it ain't the frickin' winch. Came with it.
And the roof.
And I guess I thought he bought that, so that's even worse. Another little nitpick though is these switches. So you have your off, which is your fang light. Then you have your dims, brights, dims, brights. So it has to be a push up. Over here's your 4-wheel drive. It only goes up. It's a petty concern to me as someone that is clumsy. I can make a mistake. I got fat gloves on. It's winter in Michigan. If I'm going to dim for a car coming, I mean, you can potentially click that up. There's nothing about mechanics that says 60 mile per hour and gears going like that is a good idea. So I personally don't like that. I kind of wish it was over here for 4-wheel drive. I know I can move it, and that's actually a thought in my mind to do very soon. I'm just saying from factory, that's a dangerous game to play. The issue with the bright light switch is on this machine, you have off, fang light, or dims, and then you have brights, dims. But if you flip down on accident, you know, to your car's coming at you or another side-by-side, that turns your lights completely off. No fang lights, no nothing. So you go from brights to blacked out. That's a dangerous thing to have happen to you. It looks suspicious. I mean, the possum police are out there lurking, and all of a sudden you black out. Now you just got to talk to the possum police. I would just personally like that it was brights, dim, off, not brights, off.
For the headlight switch for the X3, obviously up is going to be your high beam, so the lights are on. Down, and you can push it as hard as you want, goes to the low beam. If you hold it down, then your headlights shut off.
This is just a totally nitpick video of little things when you pay this amount of money for something that shouldn't be breaking, missing, or you shouldn't have to pay 150 bucks later to install. And that's just kind of my thoughts on this whole thing. It's truly a reach to get this whole video out of the way. There's nothing about this machine I'm like, I hate. Other than that, it's just nitpicks. This machine's amazing. Polaris did a really good job. Because I truly think you should buy this machine. You'll love this machine. I love this machine. I like it, and I've had a lot of fun in it.
And if you're coming from an X3, this stuff might be kind of important to you. If you're new to side-by-sides and you're trying to pick out which machine you want, this stuff might not matter at all. But we figured that this was stuff that needed to be brought up because no one else is talking about it, and that's why we put it in here. I know it might sound like we're whining a little bit, but this is stuff that Nate has noticed since having this thing.
And we've had a couple of machines to this point. So again, like he said, if you're just buying a machine, the little things that we're picking at are for people that have already had machines or they have a standard or an expectation. If you're getting a machine, this stuff isn't an attack on it by any means. The machines, either one is a great machine. This Pro S is phenomenal machine. The seat lever braking, it's $14. It's not that big of a deal, but when you're used to buying these machines and used to a standard, that's an issue. If you're just buying the machine, you're not gonna regret it.
And for everyone that says that we're complaining about the Pro S, do you regret it and would you buy it again?
I'd buy it again. I'd buy a couple of them. Y'all keep subscribing and maybe we'll have 3 or 4 of them out here. I'll get every color they offer.
You get a Pro S.
You get a Pro S. Everyone gets a Pro S.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this one up. If you guys enjoyed this video and it was helpful, definitely let us know down below. We're always up for discussion. Go ahead and pick some merch up down below on the website. It really helps build this channel up so we can do more cool stuff and review more machines and actually put our hands on them and get to test them. But until next time, we're out.